Hey there, and welcome to another edition of HiiVE Podcast, introducing you to the eXp Realty trailblazers and newsmakers that are aligning under one brokerage and creating a movement in the real estate industry. I'm your HiiVE host, Sam Rodriguez. What is all the buzz? Hey everybody, welcome to the HiiVE Podcast. I'm your HiiVE host. My name is Sam Rodriguez, and this is the second edition of the HiiVE Podcast. We're so excited to be able to bring you all the buzz that's taking place at eXp Realty. So really exciting stuff. I'm going to go ahead and bring in our special guest here today. All right. Hey, Devin, good morning.
Hi, brother. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing great. How about you?
I am excellent.
Awesome. There you are. Looks like you're having a beautiful day out in the woods today.
Yep. We're going to do a little fishing later.
Get your suit on though, so I don't know if that's proper attire.
I got my Freedom t-shirt on too, so.
Okay, you're ready to go then. Awesome. Hey, Devin, thanks so much for joining us. I was just sharing, just as I was doing an introduction there to the show, that this is only the second edition or second show that we're doing. So thank you for having taken the time and joining us here today. So Devin, I'm going to do a brief intro, and then I'll let you kind of take it from there. But you've been an industry leader in the real estate industry for a long time now. I know one of the major accomplishments, I know you've had many, but one that really stood out, I think, to a lot of others across the country. You're the co-founder of the Five Doors Network, and you recently joined eXp Realty. So I know you're no longer Five Doors, you're no longer Keller Williams, eXp Realty. So we're gonna dive into that and touch on why the move. But you might maybe take a moment to share a little bit further. Again, I know there's a lot of accolades that you have, Devin. So we'll share as much as you can. We'll keep it a little short there.
Sure. Yeah, just obviously very blessed and fortunate to have come into the acquaintance of Gary Keller back in 2009. And I actually was searching for a platform at that time for a distressed real estate business. I had been in the distressed business prior to that, all the way back in the early 90s. And then prior to that, I was in technology. And in 2008, I came across an opportunity to serve clients through distressed properties, the banks specifically. And then I switched my energy over to serving the distressed owners. And in Orange County, California, there was a lot of them. So I came into connection with Gary, rapidly figured out how to sell a lot of homes very quickly. My first year, we sold about 35 homes, and then we went on to double that the following year, and then we doubled it again, and we just kind of continued to grow from there, and then built out through Gary's mantra of no one succeeds alone, really tied into a group of amazing individuals who helped us build the Five Doors Network, and then grew that into one of Wall Street Journal's top 50 teams for the last 4 years running. I also have always owned my own brokerage business within the Keller Williams model in Orange County, California, the Doherty Real Estate Group. I've been a member of Gary's mastermind for 9 years, and I was Gary about 4 or 5 years ago told us that we should go out and coach people off of our teams. So I went and became a MAPS production coach to the top agents in the company. And then I connected up with another one of my mentors, Ron Patulski, who got me connected up to neuro-linguistic programming. And I took the journey of transformational coaching and became a master practitioner of NLP. And through that, just became more effective at helping people find their opportunities and just lead more people towards building generational wealth in real estate, which is really my business mantra. I've been very blessed with that.
That's great. So I guess that was kind of part of what sparked a little bit of the journey, because hearing your story, you were really looking for the next, right? For when you built out such a large and very successful group, it's kind of, you start to run into either tensions, which no pun intended, reading your article too, was red tape, right? But larger producing teams start to run into different snags here and there. So it sounds like as you were searching out solutions, I guess it kind of took you on this path of this journey and kind of learning about a lot about some other brokerages and other solutions that existed out there.
Yeah, well, back all the way to 2009, one of the guys, the team leader in my local office named Reno Contarano, was instrumental in helping me kind of navigate the investigative process. But I had looked at 11 brokerages before I chose Keller Williams back in 2009.
Wow.
And as we started to build out, what would it look like for us to have 10,000 agents in an organization on a platform business where we provided coaching and training and leadership and productivity models and all the other things that would help an agent become successful. How would we build that out? That's where Gary started really helping us with expansion systems. And we were really one of the first expansion teams prior to the terminology even coming about. And the challenge we had back then was it was a number of factors, but it really comes down to the fact that Gary's business is based on 850 franchisees approximately, and there's two main characters involved in that. There's an OP and a team leader. All of them that I know are amazing human beings, and they have the highest intentions for their businesses, and they have territorial boundaries. And that's what naturally creates some of the lid associated with expansion inside of the Keller Williams platform. Not good or bad or right or wrong, but even within regional distribution there's 31 different regions in KW, not everything looks the same. Not every situation is the same. And it's not good or bad. Back in 2018, Gary was looking to launch a virtual platform to try and solve for that problem. And it never really came to existence, but it was beginning of some of the friction that we were having while I was out there investigating other options, right? Because we were looking at possibly, do we need to go independent? Do we need to do this on our own? Do we need to take eXp and do it just like eXp, only better? I mean, we looked at every option out there. I spoke with Realty, I spoke with Compass, I spoke with every brand. I even spoke to Zillow and Redfin and everybody else that I could possibly think about. How can I build generational wealth for agents and their clients with the concept of being able to have 10,000 agents in a platform that would be effective? And, while eXp isn't perfect, it's the best option that's out there by far compared to everything else.
You use the term there, generational wealth, and that's a unique term in the real estate industry because it either doesn't exist in any shape or form, or it's very limited. So,
Yeah.
So what does that look like? Or maybe kind of touch a little bit on when you look for that, because you're trying to not only take care of yourselves as owners, but taking care of your group and being able to offer a very similar position as a partner, if you will. But why don't you touch on that if you?
Yeah. So I mean, just to give you a little bit more of my backstory, my wife and I met skiing in Mammoth back in 1988, actually 87 or somewhere around there. And her family, her father's mother was the first female president of the Beverly Hills Board of Real Estate. And she is fourth generation real estate. And I learned how to do real estate from an investment perspective at a very early age of 20 years old. And what I found was that investing in real estate was the best possible way to take advantage of your brokerage commissions. And I saw her dad kind of, do these things where he would spin his commission into an equity position, into a deal. He would buy properties wholesale. He would use assets to buy things. All that translated into this concept of what generational wealth looked like. Then, as a KPMG consultant back in my transition from technology to real estate, I learned how to bring in great advisors into dialogue. So I hired an advisor by the name of Ernie Dowd. Ernie wrote a book called Hats Off to You, and he's a strategic family business advisor. And his goal was to help us figure out how to move the generational wealth that Judy's dad had created to the siblings, to the next generation. And we found tremendous friction in that dialogue because the mission and the vision weren't in alignment. And it's not good or bad, it just happened to be the case. And so what we found was that we all had different ways of wanting to do it, but we didn't all have a commonality. So we had to figure out how to do something different. So we took over the property management for her family business, and then we started building a brokerage business for ourselves. And then when we started taking the cash flow from the brokerage business and applying it to building more investments, it allowed us to have passive income. And so from there, I just have had a heart because now my daughter is 18 years old. She's in the process of getting her real estate license. I have an 18-year-old, a 15-year-old, a 13-year-old, and I'm looking at how do I pass on generational wealth to this next generation. And it's not about the money, Sam. This is abundance. Wealth is abundance. So what that means is it's more than the tangible net worth. It's also about the intangible net worth. It's about the fact that there's gifts and talents that we've been given and how to use them at the highest level to produce things for others. Because at some level, giving is really what the ultimate thing is about. So I give my time and energy towards helping people build generational wealth. I want to do that on a platform that's stable and long-term that I can do anywhere in the world. And that's why we ended up here on the eXp platform, because that's the one that allows us to do that. Now with RevShare, what's super cool about RevShare is as a coach, you would have to charge people to be in partnership with them. But now I'm in a situation where I can actually be in partnership with them, give them coaching and advice and feedback. I do something called a breakthrough session as a master practitioner of NLP. And a breakthrough session is helping people find their highest opportunities in career or in spiritual or in physical or in health, whatever area that they're needing help with, help them do a breakthrough in that area. And let's say in career, for instance, some people are on a track going in a direction that is not matching their values. And so we help them figure out what is the best path for them to get there. And it's a highly effective strategy for helping people, move things along. So that's why I've been able to bring some of those folks together to help us create a platform where we can really move to the next level and help businesses thrive.
And you've done a great job at that. I mean, I think throughout all these years, I mean, you guys, again, when you talk about being a Wall Street Journal top team, I mean, touch on those production numbers, just for those people who aren't as familiar with how big of a deal it is to even make the list. So like production numbers, putting that.
Yeah, I mean, thousands of homes sold. I mean, really, the thing that I like to think about, I like to think about it in terms of how many
thousands per year.
Right, thousands per year. But here's the thing: it's not really about that. Just I want you to be crystal clear. To me, this is about helping people on their tangible balance sheet increase assets and decrease liabilities. On their intangible balance sheet, move towards growth. From an intangible balance sheet perspective, one of the things that we have is we have generational baggage. We have stuff that has been put on us from our parents, from our grandparents, from things around us, from our own not being good enough, and us helping them unweight that. If we can increase both tangible and intangible, we can change the world, and we can make the world a very, very strong experience. Well, one of my very good friends, she gave me this thought many years ago, and I've always pondered on it. And that is, her concept was big, fat, happy projects, meaning that you could do things. Once you get to a point of significance where income is not a problem, you can now go out and do things you really love to do. I mean, look at Bill Gates as an example. He's out there wanting to help solve this massive pandemic issue with all the things that he's doing. And he did that because he's been able to achieve a level of success in finance. But that only came through serving a whole lot of people with software. And that's what's super cool about the real estate space is that I love helping people build generational wealth. I love handing first-time buyers their keys. I love helping sellers get the most amount of money. But I also love just helping people get connected up to their highest opportunities, not only in career, but in life in general.
That's awesome to hear. I hear all the coaching tidbits coming out of there. Lots of nuggets. And that's not only the tip of it. You and your group have a lot to offer. All the experience that you guys have, but again, also with the track record too. So we're happy that you're part of eXp. I guess when you looked at eXp and generational wealth, you touched on RevShare. And again, for those maybe who are listening don't know what RevShare is or even never heard of something called revenue share. Maybe touch on a little bit like what was it that was most attractive in that manner for you and your family, but also for the group because you've got a collective group of other highly influential, very experienced leaders that also are part of your organization.
Yeah, thank you. What I will tell you is that I was very fortunate as a transformational coach to coach OPs and team leaders in the Keller Williams model, including regional directors, and I was able to come alongside people in the brokerage ownership space and understand what their challenges were. And one of the things that I would say that is different now post-COVID is that we've got a lot of things that are different, but one of the things that's significantly different is the fact that we need to solve what frictionless means to the world of an agent who is now almost in a retraction state right now, right? They're trying to figure out how do they get as much money as they possibly can out of every deal. They're trying to figure out where the ROI of value comes in alignment with their brokerage. They're looking to figure out how is it that they can gain the best strategy for implementing wealth. And with RevShare, what it does is it makes me, and by the way, interesting sidebar, I met Glenn 3 years ago, and we actually were very serious about possibly making a transition 3 years ago. And while we didn't do it at that time, God's timing is perfect. We're here now. It's a really fun sidebar story. But the fact is that RevShare, what it does for me is it instantly makes me a brokerage owner without the risk or liability. Thankfully, we've got some amazing California brokers here led up by Deborah Penny and just a bunch of other really great people. They are the ones standing in the front lines of the liability side of eXp. And yet I get to benefit from introductions, not only in California, but across the world, including UK, Canada, and Australia. I get to benefit from connecting those people up to the platform without any risk. So not only do I own a local brokerage, but I own the region, and I also own the brand overall, in the sense of being able to introduce people to the gift that keeps giving, which is revenue share. And the thing that's interesting is that it's been called a pyramid, and I'm actually a big Amway guy. Back from the early 90s, I had a large Amway network and was very successful with some very good friends of mine. As a matter of fact, I was just speaking to my upline diamond, Greg Alexander, recently, and he's also in real estate, so maybe he's a future partner of ours. But the thing I would say is that there is a true benefit in aligning with people's values and helping solve for what generational wealth looks like. And Amway did that, and Amway still does that. They're very effective at that. What's different about this, though, is this is real estate. This is what I love doing. This is the component. This is the thing that makes the most sense for me. I take the gifts that I've been given naturally as my crazy brain that a lot of people call it, and tie that into my ability to help people through their challenges, and tie that into RevShare. I can now go to anywhere in the world. And as you know, we've got people coming on from all over the nation because of the fact that this is a flat brokerage. There's no middlemen between me and the ability for me to connect up to anybody in the nation. As a guy who coached OPs and team leaders, as a guy who has been around some of the top coaches in the country through MAPS, it is a phenomenal opportunity to be able to give the gift of revenue share, because it's the equal right to be unequal in terms of how you are rewarded for recruiting.
That's a great term. I'm going to steal that one from you.
For sure.
I think I've heard it put that exact way. I like that a lot. But you're exactly right. We're seeing people that are even local competitors that are partnering up. I'm not saying they're bringing their teams together and calling it all, putting everything into one pot, but they're teaming up. Some of them are teaming up in from one state to the next. I mean, it's a partnership program. But you're right, because it's flat. And when any business, I think if you can take out the middleman, there's monies created, extra revenues that can actually be in turn given back in return. And that is our revenue share program.
Yeah, I love all my brothers and sisters that were part of Gary Keller's mastermind, but there was two groups inside that mastermind. There were those that owned brokerage ownership that became OPs or team leaders or were part of that category, and there were those that were not. And what happened is that actually created two classes, whether it was intended or not. It created two classes. There was the haves and the have-nots of brokerage ownership inside the KW world. And it's not good or bad. I'm not judging that. For me, though, I actually attempted to buy interests in Keller Williams franchises here in Southern California and around the nation. And quite honestly, there was the politics that I'm talking about, the friction, if you will, that was existing. And I'm not judging any of that, because it's just probably the 850 territories that are being protected. But at the same time, what I will tell you is it's a less effective, less efficient model when we're in a situation now, even with the next level of growth that's necessary because of COVID, where we're going to have to go to the more profitable, more virtual, digital first, not digital only, but digital first strategy where we're going to still use offices, but we're going to use them way more effectively. We're still going to use the virtual platform, but we're going to use it more effectively. I mean, all of this stuff is really just a big blessing for us.
I believe that exactly the case. I think it just happened to be that Glenn was just so far ahead of the curve, right? In 2009, I always say this, but if I had heard about this model in 2009, sorry, Glenn, I probably would have laughed and said this company's never going to last. But again, he was a genius because he was so far in the forward thinking, creating a cloud-based, and today, by the way, first and only still today cloud-based real estate brokerage in existence.
Yeah, Glenn's such a great human, and he is even just in my, as you know, I've only been over for a very short time, and this is my first month. And what I can tell you is that Glenn and I have been conversing for years since I met him 3+ years ago now. But he also had me jump into some dialogues on the Virbela side. And what's so interesting about eXp and Glenn and his vision is that he was smart enough to invest in Virbela to the point of ownership. And now other real estate brokerages, other large universities, every form of America is flocking to how they use Virbela to solve this issue of being able to deliver value and content in a virtual office space. And Virbela is just such a great platform for that. It's a phenomenal way for people to be able to meet. And every single person that I've ever talked to, I've been able to bring them into eXp World on the brokerage side, or if they're not in real estate, as a matter of fact, I introduced a large events company over there, and they're going to start moving their online events into Virbela. I mean, that's vision. I mean, that is a massive amount of vision. The other thing you got to understand about Glenn, which I think is so cool, is that the level of humility that he has allows him to not get caught up with the egos of our industry.
There's the egos in our industry? What are you talking about, Devin?
Yeah, what ego? Yeah, and that's the funny thing is that if there was an independent broker watching this, or if there was somebody that was out there and was a big baller of our industry down in their own way, that's totally fine. I love everybody exactly where they are. I think the thing that I would just challenge everyone to consider right now is, why would a Chuck Fazio do what he did at this time? Why are there so many other large people making the decision to move over to eXp? Not with 1 or 2 or 3 people, but with hundreds. And I just know, for me, Sam, one of the things that I see more clearly than ever is that what Glenn has done is he's commoditized the brokerage platform. He's made it valuable and profitable for the company, enough to be able to run the platform, but not so much that he's not distributing well through revenue share. And that's what's causing the growth that we're seeing in eXp right now. And where I see this going next is literally hockey stick. You can already see that hockey stick, but what's happening now is that, I mean, you think about a plan B for these brokerages. Many of these brokers, they're stuck right now. They're sitting with massive amounts of rents. They're sitting with payroll that they can't pay. They're starting to see, I mean, our pending index, we're down here in Orange County by 34%. We have 818 homes that are on hold. We only have 2,900 homes that are on the market. There's a completely different shift that's going on in our market right now. So deals are going to be harder to come by. Agents are going to want more per deal. And at the same time, brokers are going to go out of business. And I just love, we're talking to a very large broker right now about the concept of moving their brokerage, their agents over to the eXp platform without having to move their expenses, which is a really great way to fix that. Again, you can see, if I'm focused on tangible and intangible assets, if I can help them eliminate liabilities and increase assets, then why would it not make sense for them to plug into eXp?
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. And again, nobody thought that there would be this weird virus that's going to happen in 2020, unless you look at, I guess, history is repeating itself every 100 years. So maybe in that manner. But,
or conspiracy. I mean, we could talk conspiracies all
that's
day.
Good too. Yeah, that's a whole different podcast.
Right.
But again, the company, we've been hearing this term, we were built for this. And again, when Glenn created eXp over 10 years ago, it was coming out of very tough time. It was the recession, 2007, 2008. And he created eXp in 2009 to make it a recession-proof business model and brokerage. And obviously, again, nobody's wished for a virus or any other type of bad throughout the world or in the industry. Unfortunately, this is something that's affecting everybody. But here we are with something that we're not scrambling to a solution. In fact, you're right. There are brokers that are either they're paralyzed and sitting on the sideline, waiting for things to pass. And now we're going to hear a term. We're already hearing the term again, the new normal, right? That's already getting played out. I think already. It's only been 2 days. So that new normal is what it's been business as usual for eXp, right? Our agents are trying to figure out how to get paid, how to do deals. Yes, there are some local and local governing and state governing laws that are in place on how to do business if they can. But as far as a brokerage solution, nothing has changed.
Yeah. What's interesting is that we've got this whole conversation about essential services, non-essential services. We have all these other factors, but I think the thing that I would just challenge anyone that is considering what their path is going forward with brokerage is to really take a hard look at what do they need from a broker. And when we compared the list, and when I started really looking at what does a broker provide me, the thing that they provide me most is they provide me, because I'm a broker and my wife's a broker, right? So why do I subordinate my broker's license? Why am I not just an independent broker like I was before? Because they provide me a platform to prevent me from dealing with liability issues. Think about the COVID lawsuits that are going to happen here coming up in the near future, where you've got sellers and buyers spreading the illness, and you're supposedly, it was your listing. And, in California, we have got more attorneys and agents than any other state. There's a lot of liability out there, and I'm just glad to be a part of an organization that is already solving for that with new forms and strategies and communication. But in addition to that, I'm also excited about the fact that I'm part of a team and a collective and an experience that I can have people like Sam Rodriguez in my life who are pouring into me about what it is that they're doing and what other large brokerages are doing on the path of them being able to solve for their agents how to find the next deal. Because right now, that's really what we're talking about here to a large degree. You're gonna find brokerages, that are quote stuck, and that's a big deal right now.
Yeah. So I mean, it's either survive. Some are just looking to survive, while others are how do you take a market like this now and thrive? Because there are opportunities. There's market opportunities exist in every type of a down market. You talked about team though, and let's go back to that because we talked about brokers. Team, I mean, you've already been instrumental, and I know there's a ton of discussions taking place right now. But talk about the team aspect of this. Maybe I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about Sean and Jim and group.
Yeah. Well, what I can tell you is I've been very blessed to be able to just be an advisor. As a coach, one of the things that I get to do is I get to look at people very objectively, and I can take my eXp hat off. I can take my Keller Williams hat off. I can take every hat off and just help a person see what's best for them, regardless of what my position is. And I've been very blessed to be able to have that third party perspective, almost like a drone flying over the situation. And as a former consultant for KPMG, and as a person who's been involved in the technology industry with multi-million-dollar budgets to spend, I can really help people get that perspective that they're looking for over their situation. And from a team perspective, what I would just tell you is that where we're going is we're looking to put the best possible minds in real estate together in a collective, in a mastermind that is driven not only by the leader or the icon, but by the topic of the conversation that's most germane to all the parties that are in the room. And a true mastermind, in my opinion, is not just a thought experiment going in one person's direction, but it's actually an exchange of ideas. And what I've done is I've just chosen to connect and to partner with people in a place that it very soon will be announcing a whole bunch of those wonderful folks that are going to be coming in and aligning with how it is that we can take the best of recruiting, the best of production, the best of mindset, the best of coaching, and tie that all together in a really, really wonderful bundle to help people thrive at a high level, not only in this COVID world, but literally towards their trajectory, their life trajectory. Because at the end of the day, you know, it's just a blink of a map. We're all kind of really been, you know, I don't know about you, but it's weighed very heavily on me, this whole stats about deaths per day and, you know, all the things that are going on. It just kind of changes the perspective quite a bit. And, you know, here we are on a Good Friday having a conversation and, you know, from the perspective of this, we're just passing through. How can we leave a mark and a legacy here? It's really about aligning with the people that have the highest intent for who they want to be, and then show them how to connect and be that at that next level. And so, yeah, I'm excited. I think in future conversations, we're going to go much deeper and maybe have some other really great people that are coming together in the dialogue. Where I'm at right now is that I've just been super blessed as a coach to have a lot of people that have come to me and said, hey, you know, I want to learn more about that. I want to check that at a deeper level. And you know what I do with them, right, Sam? I just send them to you, of course. No, I'm just kidding. But I certainly involve you in the process. But most of all, what I do is I help them see what it is that they're after, right? I help them get in alignment with what are their values and how do those values connect up to where they want to go? And does this feel like it's a match or not? Because at the end of the day, if it's not this, then the other thing that they're considering may be the better option. And it's totally fine. When you live in a world of abundance, when you're solving for generational wealth and you're playing a game for life, you don't have you don't need anybody today, right? You just need to help people along their journey. And if you help them now, I mean, look at Glenn. He's a very patient guy. It took me more than 3 years to make my decision. So, you know, while that's while I would be in a totally different place financially and a number of other reasons, I just have to go back and say, okay, well, this happened for a reason, right? And it's not good or bad. It just happened for a reason, and now we're here. So I get excited about it. But yeah, there's a bunch of really cool people that I've connected up to, and I think that's going to be a whole nother conversation here very, very quickly.
We're looking forward to it. I'm sure that, like you said, this isn't going to be the first time we're on a Zoom call here together. Yeah. I think we're going to have a lot of really cool special guests by our sides in some of the upcoming shows here as well. So, Devin, we'll get ready to kind of wrap up. Anything else you want to add that maybe share with for those maybe kind of two different messages? Maybe it's the same message, but maybe for those. Some of our I say friends, you're right. There's a lot of great people out there. You talked about some of KPMG because you're closely interwoven there. There's a lot of great agents. There's 1.4 million of us across the country. Kind of for those who don't know about eXp, they haven't even taken the chance to kind of to hear about the opportunity, and then the vice versa. For those who maybe are listening and hearing it out, what maybe kind of a message to both sides there.
Well, what's interesting is that there are some very wise friends of mine that made the jump earlier than I did, got a lot of flack for coming over from Keller Williams to eXp. And I'm not saying that they shouldn't have or they should have, but I just know that what happened is that I've noticed a trend, and the trend is much more congratulatory about the decision than it's ever been in the past. 3 years, 2 years, 1 year ago, there was a lot of negative feedback for somebody making a move over to eXp. And now what I'm seeing in general is I'm seeing people move to neutral or positive feedback about it. The one thing I would want to make sure that people understand is that the thing that I just was in a conversation earlier today, it brings up a really important point. There's a lot of opportunities that are being offered by other brokerages right now that we're just like eXp because of blank, right? And I just would challenge anybody who's considering that mantra to make sure that they're doing a deep enough dive on eXp to make sure that they can actually evidentially compare those two at the deepest level. One of the things, like I mentioned to you, over the 3-year period of time of me investigating other brokerages, is that I went into the boardroom and met with Robert Refkin multiple times on Compass. We put deal terms together. We understood a pathway to possibly launch something with him. And I'm not saying good or bad, right or wrong. Robert's an amazing human being, and he's got a great business. And what I found was eXp was better for what I needed, because I wanted to be able to pass on that gift of rev share in an unfiltered and unfettered way. And that was what was the option. In Realgy's world, sat down with some of the most successful people, great human beings in Realgy, and they have a phenomenal platform for traditional brokerage. The problem is a lot of the traditional brokers aren't going to survive this COVID situation. They're turning in the keys on their buildings. There is going to be mayhem in our market because we are going to see a collapse of agent count. We're going to see a collapse of productivity. We're going to see a reshuffling of the deck. And that's where I thrived the last time in 2008, 2009, when I came on board to KW. And now it's time to do it again. And what's so funny is that while God's timing is perfect, none of us designed this to happen at this time, right? At the same time, well, maybe some people in China did. I don't know. But the point is that this move for me was already predetermined prior to COVID. So the fact that it's happened at the same time, I just consider a double blessing. I just consider it a win in that perspective. I think the thing I would say for agents right now, if I was an individual agent looking at like what would be most important for me to investigate right now, it would be how is it that I could find the leadership and the mentorship to not only make it through the next few months, but to literally build a platform that I could build on for the rest of my life. And I think that that's the biggest thing that I would just challenge people to consider is don't just, yes, play the short-term game. Yes, we want to play the short-term game. And if we're thinking about the short-term game, many of our fellow agents and friends, they're paying brokerages for things that are less valuable than they were today. Than they were pre-COVID. And I'm not saying good or bad. Remember, there's no judgment in any of this. This is just me laying out facts that if you're paying for marketing and marketing in the luxury space, I was just talking to an agent as another example, luxury agent does luxury open houses and has a wild success with luxury open houses, but there are no open houses.
Right.
Oh, but there will be open houses in the future. Yes. And if you want to continue to play for yesterday's game, then you're going to keep playing yesterday's game. That's the challenge. Another agent I was talking to recently, he's got a large team locally here in Orange County, and he's saying, look, my brand will boom, and it's possible that it will, but what would it look like if you put yourself on a virtual platform? Sure, you can keep some bricks and mortar, but what would it look like if you put yourself on a virtual platform and gave the people that wanted to build in recruiting into their world revenue share, and you're able to build it even 2, 3, 5, 10 times faster? What would that look like?
Yeah, we calling that scale, right? Because you're right. There's some offices that we consider large, right? There's a lot of offices, I think traditionally 30, 40, 50 agents in an office. There's some that are considered large offices, and they might have 100, 200, 300 or more agents in one office. But you're right. Some of these, again, it doesn't happen overnight. It might happen over a period of a few years. But what happens if, what would it look like if you could do that in a matter of just months, again, because of the ability to scale? And I think you're right. It's the ability to do just that without that risk, responsibility, and liability side. I think you hit the nail right on the head there.
Yeah, I would just say, Sam, there's, another conversation I was having this morning, agent is considering a model where is a pay per transaction, what small transaction fee per and at the same time, the agent's going to do much more than what they would cap at in that model. And that's yesterday's game. Not good or bad, but I looked at every flat fee business that there was. And the challenge with the flat fee businesses is that's all they have to offer is the flat fee.
That's right.
There's no additional value, and there's no reward for bringing people onto your team. And there's no way to solve for any ancillary. There's no way to solve for any of the bigger pictures here. So in other words, it's a flat model for generational wealth. There isn't any way to do that.
Yeah, that's a great point. We actually talked about that with our last guest, which was, the mindset of an agent is much like a seller or even a FSBO. And it's the mindset of saving money, not paying an agent, not paying my broker. When the mindset shouldn't it really be, if you're a brand new agent or if you're any agent, but especially if you're new to the business, if you think back then, did you look for the company that said, I'm going to save you the most amount of money, or did you look for the company that said, I'm going to help you make more money? And I think that's where I think a lot of the industry has been lost in that shuffle there. The tools, the support, the technologies, people like yourself, the organization that you're building out here. What an exciting time to be like all locking arms and doing this together. So yeah. Proud to call you a partner, Devin.
Yeah, me too, Sam. And you know what's been great is as you know, there was a period where I was wanting to make sure that I was able to have some conversations that were like pre-announcement type of conversations. And you know, I would just say that if anybody's watching this thing and they need to have a confidential conversation with an eXp person, in addition to myself, you are obviously been a phenomenal resource for that. Where you know, the lid is you in terms of needing to talk about situations. So thank you for being that confidential confidant in my own investigative path back to eXp after 3 years of being kind of out in investigative space. Not good or bad. And remember, I thoroughly enjoyed every aspect of what Gary Keller has provided. He's an amazing human being, and all the OPs, team leaders, regional directors, coaches, everybody over at KW they're just awesome humans and have literally helped me on my journey. So nothing but love for every one of those folks. It's just now time to solve a bigger challenge, and that is, how do we build generational wealth for 10,000 agents, for 10,000 people on a platform that allows them to go to where they want to go.
Very true. Awesome, Devin. It's been a real pleasure. I know I get the luxury of talking to you outside of these calls here, but thanks so much for taking the time joining us here today, for being our special guest. I'm sure we'll bring you and some of your other friends along here again shortly, but that's going to be a wrap for today. Guys, thanks so much for listening, and keep an eye out. These are going to be twice weekly. The YouTube channel is now getting close to I just got to load the logo. The YouTube channel is created, Instagram, Facebook. Give us a follow and look out for more videos. We'll be dropping links to this recording, as well as giving you a heads up of our future guests as well. So with that, we are signing off.
Thank you, Sam. Really appreciate you. Have a great day.
You too. Thanks again.
All right, you bet. Bye-bye.
Bye. So there you had it, guys. You got to hear some more about all the buzz taking place here at eXp, and very excited to be able to keep bringing more special guests just like Devin and many others. So give us a follow. We'll be dropping links here into Facebook, YouTube, Instagram channel. So keep an eye out for some of those special recordings. More soon to follow. With that, make it a great day, everybody. And that is a wrap on another episode of HiiVE Podcast. Thanks for tuning in, and give this episode a thumbs up if you like what you heard, and remember to subscribe for future episodes. You can also catch some highlights and other eXp news and industry buzz on our Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram accounts.